This is gonna be a short video, I sense. And just if context is helpful, or it doesn't matter if it's helpful. I guess there's just a sense of wanting to share some context. We're fighting some sort of a flu. My son is in between naps, and the challenges of keeping him awake for as long as he needs to be awake. It's like a balancing act, and exhaustion here, exhaustion for my husband, illness, MS, flare-ups, taking off work, nannies being sick. That's life right now. It's not a problem, but that means that the space for this to be spoken and voiced in the way that the aliveness is wanting, there's a lot of creativity in finding it. It doesn't just happen. And so the way that this will happen right now is probably the energy here is needed and wanted in other directions and not as available, but still there's an opening and a space here. And the question that wants to be addressed and answered is this question that's been put here of, why isn't disability and illness talked about more in spirituality? I don't really follow spiritual teachers. I don't usually anyways. I'm not really right now. I follow maybe one person that I don't even think would claim themselves to be a teacher, and then I just kind of like dabble, but there's been a long path of, I wouldn't say ever having one, but having many spiritual influences in wellness, alternative health, wellness, holistic health practitioners that I experienced a certain lens of illness and disability in. Where either it was an aside of option A, B, or C of suffering that could be worked through, and just to breathe through the sensations and allow it to be felt directly, and get out of the mind, get out of the thoughts. Or more aggressively was spoken as the disability or the illness is the consequence of your karma, your suffering, your psychological shortcomings. And maybe that's true, maybe some of those pieces are true, but I feel that the dialogue that I was ever exposed to is largely missing, like the immense spiritual value of illness. Really feeling the body's limitations and how quickly and vastly the body changes. And also, I think there's a large blind spot, maybe not everyone, but maybe some people, for shame. And maybe it just creeps in. But illness is a hard thing to talk about. It's uncomfortable. Even more so than depression or anxiety. It's more unknown, it's more biological, it's more cellular, it's more viral, it's more universal, right? animals get illness, plants get illness. It isn't unique to the human species. There's some anger here, for sure, about not having space to be with it and to really value it. Not that I would wish it on anyone or myself. This flu, whatever whiz we've gotten, it sucks. I haven't washed my hair. I'm sure this video is evident, and that's the most minor aspect of what comes here: dizziness, brain changes, sensory changes, like my foot motor changes. The details aren't necessary, and I couldn't even begin to describe the sensory motor changes, but the MS revs up. It's connected to the immune system, inflammation, lesions in my spine, and probably mostly my spine because I can feel it, the aches and the misfiring. Where was I going with that? So there's the symptoms, and there isn't a fear of those symptoms here anymore. There isn't a, I need to get better, need to get through it. What is this saying about me? How can I purify the body and pump it with? There's just no narrative. And that's a wonderful thing sometimes for clients who feel like, oh, my anxiety and depression just leaves when I'm sick because it's all in the body, and that resonates here. Often there's so many people who see MS and the progression of it, and I'm not saying that it's not traumatic and hasn't been traumatic at times here, but the external view of what it is so different. And sometimes here it's like this beautiful unveiling of just living as an animal. The cells in the body are battling some invader. There's a war, the invader's dying, there's death. You can see it coming out in mucus. And that's for like an example of flu, but even with MS, there's a battle, like the body against the body doesn't, I don't know. I'm not gonna pretend to spiritualize and know what caused it and why, and not that that's not important and maybe is unveiled sometimes, but I'm not gonna stand on a platform and tell anyone what MS means to them. But it does have this beautiful spiritual opportunity again and again and again and again and again to show us what we are and what we aren't. And here, that's been clearer through illness than anything else that's been experienced. And that's just me. I don't know what it's like for other people. I think the anger is just like, the shame isn't gonna control this person into silence anymore. The shame of being sick, if you want to put that label on it, being sick and talking while sick. I'm not going to wait for wellness or perfection to speak. There's nothing wrong with this. In fact, there's quite a magnitude of beautiful gifts for myself and also for the people that are burdened by this. And working with it and seeing through the identification with burden. So there's a lot to be said. And that aliveness is like, in this moment, feels like, fuck, thank you for naming this, there's a little bit more energy and there's a little bit more like this is needing to be said here. Not for anyone else, but just for this is wanting to be said for this is sake. I know language is messy and I don't know. I always have no sense of these talks being interpretable by anyone else, but they want to be talked about, and then this is happening, and my son will be back moment by moment, any moment, moment by moment, whatever that means. And so the energy here is getting ready to go to him, and that's fine. This is all fine. It's always just this moment, and even when this moment is like sick and coughing and flare up and tired and not enough of what the organism is looking for yet, it's all fine. The organism will never want to die in a certain sense, even though it's at peace when it happens. There will always be a battle, like the aliveness of vitality in the form of the body. And to pretend that that can be transcended is there's so much to talk about in this.